Did you know that Steve Jobs pranked a Starbucks barista on stage during the iPhone launch? Yeah, he called Starbucks and ordered 4,000 lats.
You are watching Breaking the Web, and this is the birth of the iPhone.
Good morning, Starbucks. How can I help you?
Yes, I'd like to order 4,000 lattes to go, please. No, just kidding. Wrong number, thank you.
The year was 2005. iPods were the coolest entertainment devices around. Their sales numbers were setting new revenue records. Apple was unanimously winning awards for its technological excellence and innovation. The sailing was more than smooth for the company and the future looked shiny. But still, one man who mattered the most for Apple, Steve Jobs, wasn't happy at all. The cell phone technology was constantly improving at that time, and Jobs sensed it as an inevitable threat to the iPods. He thought that the cell phone industry has a lot of potential, and if anyone developed the software and made the cell phone as an entertainment device as well, which could have music, then of what use would iPods be? Apple, in collaboration with Motorola, had released its first mobile phone, MOTOROKR E1, in September 2007. Jobs was unhappy with Motorola and had decided to invent alone in this new field of cell phones. The company with the best team of engineers began to examine and analyze the high-end cell phones of that time, to understand what trends were going on. The high-end cell phones were mostly hard keys, like with a QWERTY keyboard and a touch screen that required stylus. And Jobs hated stylus. The other advanced desk phones, which did not use stylus, were those of Samsung and Bang & Olufsen. These mobiles allowed roaming through a rotating wheel keypad with numbers 0 to 9 on it. X810, another Samsung cell phone that was creating some buzz, had a similar rotating wheel for user input. The engineers at Apple weren't impressed by all these designs and they wanted to try something new and innovative. They were beginning to make their mind that an iPhone would be like an iPod with a rotating number panel for navigation. This idea was far from the original iPhone. Apple was simultaneously working on to make use of a concept that was not much popular at that time: touch technology. The company was envisioning a touch-based tablet device that could replace laptops. In 2003, Apple's R&D department was making rapid progress on multi-touchability and finger sensitivity. One day, Steve Jobs was called to oversee a prototype tablet with newly developed touch features and concepts. They were developed by a genius user interface engineer, Bas Ording. He was one of the most important engineers for the original iPhone. The first of these two features was called inertial scrolling. It allowed the user to swipe at a list on the screen, and in response the list would move based on how fast the swipe was, finally resting with a deceleration as if it had a real inertia. Jobs was really impressed with these concepts that he exclaimed, "My God, we can build a phone out of this." Apple didn't invent the touch screen, but Apple modified it into a very cool and advanced concept. In 2005, Apple acquired a startup called Fingerworks to use their touchscreen know-how along with their own. They wanted to create a completely new way to interact with their phones. They wanted their buyers to interact with their phones just with the help of their fingers and touch. This was their biggest accomplishment in designing the next generation phone. Apple had launched iTunes some years ago, which allowed third-party apps to create content for iPod users, and if the same model could be made successful with iPhones, the manner in which the phone could be used would be endless. Think maps, documents, images, pretty much everything we do now with phones. It took some foresightedness to believe people would use phones like that. The phones were bound to be the new computers. The iPhone project was a top-secret project. Only a selected number of people knew about it. Rest of the company did not have a clue about it. The core group codenamed this project Project Purple. Only the best and loyal Apple employees were handpicked to work in it for long hours and nights for years. The iPhone team took over an entire building at Apple's Cupertino, California headquarters. The work began. iPhone team was compartmentalized into two simple units, hardware and software unit. Both of the teams tried to blend in perfectly to create a phone with innovative design and a brand new software. On June 28, 2007, Apple shipped the original iPhone. Lineups had already formed at Apple stores, especially flagship stores like the Glass Cube in New York City. People had been waiting outside for days.
And we are calling it iPhone. Today,